Climb to be free. Walk to feel alive. Rediscover happiness in the simple things. Smile. Make yourself at home. Discover the joy of the cold and of vertigo. Listen to the silence. Decipher the language of animals. Walk amidst thousand-year-old forests and the countless forms of life that live there. Travel through the city's underground. Appreciate the view from up high. Then enjoy its unique sights. Look at the horizon and wonder if there is more than meets the eye. Lose yourself in funiculars and labyrinth. Find yourself on a mysterious island. Be amazed by a different culture. Learn about ancient beliefs and traditions. Marvel in their colors and shapes. Wait for the calm of night. And yet, feel that you are never quite alone. Understand that home is wherever we want it to be. Climb to be free. Walk to feel alive. Rediscover happiness in the simple things. Smile. Make yourself at home. Discover the joy of the cold and of vertigo. Listen to the silence. Decipher the language of animals. Walk amidst thousand-year-old forests and the countless forms of life that live there. Travel through the city's underground. Appreciate the view from up high. Then enjoy its unique sights. Look at the horizon and wonder if there is more than meets the eye. Lose yourself in funiculars and labyrinth. Find yourself on a mysterious island. Be amazed by a different culture. Learn about ancient beliefs and traditions. Marvel in their colors and shapes. Wait for the calm of night. And yet, feel that you are never quite alone. Understand that home is wherever we want it to be. Climb to be free. Walk to feel alive. Rediscover happiness in the simple things. Smile. Make yourself at home. Discover the joy of the cold and of vertigo. Listen to the silence. Decipher the language of animals. Walk amidst thousand-year-old forests and the countless forms of life that live there. through the city's underground. Appreciate the view from up high. Then enjoy its unique sights. Look at the horizon and wonder if there is more than meets the eye. Lose yourself in funiculars and labyrinth. Find yourself on a mysterious island. Be amazed by a different culture. Learn about ancient beliefs and traditions. Marvel in their colors and shapes. Wait for the calm of night. And yet, feel that you are never quite alone. Understand that home is wherever we want it to be.
Good morning and selamat pagi to all our guests from ASEAN, and good night and selamat malam to all our participants from Chile and the Americas. Welcome to our Chile-ASEAN Future Perspectives Dialogue Series, a program of our embassies in ASEAN. We're here to discuss the relationship between Chile and ASEAN and some of its member countries, its past, present, and future. In this session, we will focus in Malaysia. But first, we will start this dialogue session with the opening remarks of the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Chile, Ms. Carolina Valdivia.
Excellency Satvinder Singh, Deputy Secretary General of ASEAN for the Economic Community, distinguished ambassadors, academia, lecturers, dear friends. I am delighted to deliver some remarks in the inauguration of the cycle of dialogues organized by the Chilean embassies to the ASEAN countries in collaboration with the Center for International Studies of the Catholic University of Chile. This activity is a space that aims to open conversations between relevant actors in different areas of both regions to discuss new ways to enhancing Chilean policy towards the Southeast Asia region. For this purpose, the embassies of Chile to Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand will organize webinars on a wide range of topics such as community building, public policies, cooperation, history, regional situations, among others. Chile's relations with the ASEAN countries have increased in recent years. Historically, trade has been the prevailing link. Nevertheless, we seek to explore new spaces to share experiences and establish new networks to enrich this friendship. Considering the historical ties and friendship between our countries, Chile has a special commitment towards ASEAN and aims to foster greater integration. Chile has diplomatic relations with all ASEAN members and 6 resident missions, all with clear and ambitious bilateral agendas. Chile was the first Latin American country to become a formal development partner of ASEAN. This status represents a milestone in Chile's foreign policy towards this region, but also a challenge that invites us to reflect on new perspectives of engagement that open up areas of agenda-setting issues. As you know, ASEAN has 3 pillars: the political security community, the socio-cultural community, and the economic community. And Chile is aware that a comprehensive relationship must address each of these axes. On good governance, we have invited ASEAN member states and the General Secretariat to participate in a course that will address this topic in October this year to share the experience we have gained in this area. In addition, we expect to present in the coming weeks our cooperation project on financial intelligence analysis, which will allow us to generate further strategic exchange in this area. Given the similar development experiences of Chile and the ASEAN countries, it is possible to develop spaces for cooperation to overcome common problems. For example, with Indonesia, we are working closely on ocean protections and sustainable fisheries. With Malaysia, we are exploring cooperation in areas of innovation. And with the Philippines, we could work on public policy and addressing inequality. Likewise, with Singapore, we are working in green hydrogen and digital economies. With Thailand, we have a capacity-building cooperation program for all ASEAN members. And with Vietnam, we have shared our expertise in superfood cultivation. Of course, there are new challenges that we should face together, such as climate change, a global priority that requires urgent and common action. On this issue, Chile has designed an ambitious agenda to transform its energy matrix, starting with solar energy and hydrogen fuel generation. For this project, we have campaigned with the ASEAN countries for a partnership in this endeavor. I would like to conclude highlighting that this series of online dialogues is the first step of its kind. We hope that the results of these conversations will lead to fruitful ideas for our foreign policy and a better mutual understanding. Thank you all.
We thank the opening remarks of the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Chile, and we now give the floor to the Deputy Secretary General for ASEAN, Mr. Satvinder Singh, for his opening remarks.
Your Excellency, Ms. Valdivia, the Undersecretary of Foreign Affairs for the Republic of Chile, distinguished Chilean ambassadors to the ASEAN countries, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm truly grateful to be given this opportunity to join all of you today for the dialogue series on the relationship between Chile and ASEAN. Regrettably, we are not able to meet face-to-face this time, but I trust that this virtual environment, it's a second best, and it's also a sort of a conducive way for us to at least begin and continue our productive dialogue. It's indeed a privilege for me to use this occasion, and I intend to use it today to reflect a little on our economic relationship between ASEAN and Chile, but more importantly on the cooperation commitments that exist on the two sides. And I also like to touch a little bit on possible ways that we could both consider in order to enhance and strengthen our partnerships. ASEAN, as you know, considers Chile as one of Latin America's fastest growing economies and also one of the most attractive investment destinations. However, due to the global economic downturn caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, both the trade and investment flows between the two regions have decreased in 2020. ASEAN and Chile, we registered a trade amounting to about US $2.9 billion in 2020. This number is a stark decrease from the total trade the year before in 2019, which stood at US $3.2 billion. At the same time, in 2020, FDI also suffered as the inflow to the ASEAN from Chile recorded only about $200 million US. And again, this is a stark 60% decrease from the year before in 2019. We are all aware that COVID-19 pandemic definitely has disrupted global supply chains and have really caused unprecedented health crisis, and also adversely impacted the lives and the livelihood of the people around the world. And in this context, I must say that COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted the ASEAN region's growth and momentarily for this 1 year. In fact, in 2020, the region as a whole actually has contracted by an estimate of 3.3%. But I also say that this is a momentarily contraction because according to the Asian Development Bank, the region is also destined to collectively come through this year in 2021 with a positive growth of 4%. Now this estimation takes into account the stricter lockdowns that have taken place in the ASEAN capitals, especially in the second and third quarters of this year, due to the Delta COVID pandemic affecting our economies. But by 2022, Asian Development Bank have shared that we are expecting the region to recover even better and having a potential growth of 5.2%. Likewise, our total trade has also seen a decline in value in 2020, where trade has fallen 5.5% to a collective of US 2.7 trillion for the whole region. And uncertainties also have dampened investor sentiments as reflected by a fall in FDI inflows into the ASEAN by almost 25%. FDI in last year stood at US 137.3 billion. And still, even though the amount is not as large as what it was in 2019, the region actually still continues to make ASEAN one of the largest recipients of FDI in the world. Recovery, as we all know, is not encompassing and it's not as steady as we want it to be. And again, not all sectors in the ASEAN have recovered. In fact, several key sectors that are major contributors to our GDP, who are also major contributors of jobs, especially in the informal and services sectors, those are probably linked to travel, tourism, and other contact-intensive sectors. These are the sectors that has been most impacted by COVID. And in fact, I would dare to say that I think this is where we are also, all governments are working very hard to ensure that care is taken in order not to be able to meet some of the requirements of some of these affected informal sectors, the low-income groups that have been deeply impacted by COVID. As we are speaking right now, in somewhere around in August now, almost 8 million cases of COVID-19 has been detected in our region, and there's a fatality rate of about 2.1%. What I can assure you with confidence is that there's been an active rollout of vaccination programs in every of the ASEAN member states, and it has gained momentum, especially in the last 1 to 2 months. As we speak now, about 17.6% of the ASEAN population have been inoculated by at least one dose of vaccine, and I think this number is rapidly rising. What I can see is that sometimes vaccination has been hindered by inconsistent supply of vaccines, logistical issues, even hesitancy amongst population in some of the ASEAN member states. And of course, in some instances, just the sheer size of the population makes it challenging. I think in this direction, it is important that ASEAN and Chile cooperation includes the sharing of good experiences, the best practices on distribution of vaccines, as well as the transfer of knowledge in supporting good health, mobility, social and economic recovery. ASEAN and Chile relationship has also been progressing well and growing stronger across various areas. Chile is a development partner to the ASEAN, and earlier this year, both sides have reaffirmed our relationship by adopting the practical cooperation areas, we call it PCA, for the ASEAN-Chile Development Partnership 2025. This practical cooperation area reflects our commitment in key priority areas of cooperation that are important for ASEAN, especially important for us amidst all the important issues that are emerging globally. These areas includes digital economy, cybersecurity, technical and vocational education and training, public health, as we just spoke, climate change and sustainable development, which is so critical today, tourism, fisheries, biodiversity, and smart cities. We are pleased to note that the practical cooperation areas will not only strengthen the relationship between ASEAN and Chile, but will also help to contribute to the realization to the ASEAN Community Vision of 2025 goals, such as narrowing the development gap of the entire region. We are highly thankful and we truly value Chile's commitment to support the implementation of the existing cooperation activities with ASEAN through the ASEAN Pacific Alliance Framework for Cooperation. This partnership definitely has brought benefits that will improve the economic and trade ties between the two blocs. And in this regard, we should also anticipate closer engagement through the development and implementation of a new ASEAN and Pacific Alliance work plan, which will stretch from now to 2023. We look forward to that. Finally, I would also like to take this opportunity to express my sincere appreciation for Chile's interest in joining the ASEAN-Australia-New Zealand Free Trade Area Agreement. This agreement is considered a high standard, modern, ambitious agreement amongst all of the ASEAN agreements, and ASEAN definitely could become an attractive destination for Chilean investment and further enhancement of global supply chains between your region and the ASEAN region, as well as I do believe that through this new agreement, Chile could also strengthen and serve as a stronger gateway for the ASEAN region to access Latin American markets and opportunities. We hope that we could enhance the economic linkages between the ASEAN and Chile. We hope that we can increase our trade and investment, broaden the market opportunities, people-to-people connectivity, and create a much larger economy of scale for businesses in our respective markets. On the whole, I do believe that we have made significant progress deepening our ASEAN-Chilean relations. However, there still may be opportunities for further enhancements to unblock the potential of both markets. Now, this maybe could be in the areas of fresh investments that are mutually beneficial, and I see the areas of sustainable mining initiatives or sustainable renewable energy initiatives as tremendous areas where there could be opportunities for both sides to harness. In closing, I would like to take this opportunity to once again thank the government of Chile for convening this event. I do believe that through such exchange of dialogue, of ideas, of commitment on both sides in wanting to strengthen our partnerships, one thing will only happen, which is our relationship will get stronger, will get more real, and the benefits of our closeness will be felt by our businesses and the betterment of our people. Thank you very much.
Well, we thank the words and thoughts, remarks of the Deputy Secretary General for ASEAN, Mr. Satvinder Singh. And we will start our dialogue, our discussion. But first of all, let me introduce the speakers and the format we're going to adopt. We intend to have a conversation in which we can exchange points of view, ideas about the relationship between Chile and ASEAN, and in this case, Malaysia in particular. And we have decided to divide this conversation in three main blocks. In the first one, we're going to review the history between Chile and the Southeast Asia region up to the present. Then we will explore the opportunities for cooperation in several fields, including technology, science. And finally, we will talk about how to deepen and enrich our relationship, extending state-to-state relations to the level of regions and cities. And before introducing our speakers, I would like also to highlight that we have participants from all over Chile. We have people from Valdivia, Osorno, Iquique, Antofagasta, Santiago, who are sending their greetings and attending this night session for us in Chile. Here it's 20 minutes past 10 in the night. Thank you for attending and listening to this very interesting dialogue that we are going to begin. So I will start introducing Ambassador Diego Velasco. Ambassador Diego Velasco is probably one of the career diplomats who knows more about Southeast Asia. He has served 23 years of his almost 30 years of service in the area, has been posted to Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, the Philippines, and Thailand. And he is currently the ambassador in Malaysia, which he opened that embassy in 1989, and he's now the ambassador. He's having the full circle with Malaysia. And in the case of Mario Artaza, also a career diplomat, he is a journalist. He was posted in Singapore. He worked at the EPEC Secretariat. He also from there flew in the whole region and beyond. And he was also the consul of Chile in Hong Kong. And then he asked for a leave for several years. He worked representing a Chilean bank in that territory. And then he missed so much the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that he returned to it. And he is now the consul in New York. So he is with us from New York. We are covering the Americas and Southeast Asia from here. So thank you to both of you to be here. And final observation, you can see in my background, I have a map of the Americas and Chile in particular that can explain why we have this interest and special priority with Asia Pacific and the ASEAN region, because our country is facing the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and we are looking forward from always to have more trade and all kinds of relations with the other side of the Pacific. So having said that, I offer the floor to Ambassador Velasco to start with the history of our relation between Malaysia and Chile and the broader region. Please.
Thank you very much, Professor Juan Pablo Gracinovic, Mario Ignacio. Very good to see you, both of you, once again in the region. I would like to express my appreciation for this opportunity organized by our Embassy of Chile in Indonesia and to ASEAN, and also our appreciation for the presence of Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Chile and the Deputy Secretary General of ASEAN. Talking about the history, before the history, I am dressed because this is September. September is the month of the motherland. We celebrate the whole month because we are happy to be an independent nation of 211 years already. And the proper thing to do now is to salute everybody and take this hat out. To talk about the history between Chile and ASEAN actually is something a lot longer. It's not about only Chile and only ASEAN, it's about the region, it's about culture. And we think that the encounters of people, the encounters of people is the most important part from any religion, people to people. And our encounters across the ocean, across the world, started 500 years ago. And the cultures of that time already met. And I'm talking particularly for the circumnavigation of the world, from where one person from Southeast Asia, born in Malacca, so known as Henry of Malacca, has gone with Magellan across the planet. Please, may we, thank you. Panglima Awan, or Ferdinand Magellan assistant and companion, he was interpreted in Bahasa Melayu and Portuguese. And he traveled with the Magellan from here to Portugal and then onwards across the world. So when they reach Tierra del Fuego, in the Magellan Strait, he was actually the first Malayan person that met the Fuegian people now living in Chile. So his trip was up to Mactan Island in Philippines, and where Magellan perished. And then this is some saga which we would like to highlight, because he was a very young person. When he met Magellan, he was 16 years old. So he probably made it around the world in about at the age of 22. That is crossing the planet in very fragile ships. We no water, we no internet, no webinars. But there was a spirit of discovery, the spirit of traveling that put him in contact with the southern cultures of Chile and Latin America as well. So please, the next one. So this is the part of the trip where they cross from Portugal, going into the Pacific, right? That's the Strait of Magellan. And those are the Fuegian people that Henry of Malacca, or Panglima Awan, as he is known in Malaysia, was met. So you can imagine how the impact it was, and what sort of dialogues could have been in people who did not speak the same language. Please, next one. Next one, yeah. Now, this is what we want to do to recall this saga. This is the design of a 30-meter long mosaic. It is a mosaic design that we would like to place here in Malaysia to commemorate that. So, and this, as you can see, it is very significant on the parts that you can revisit the whole trip across the ocean 500 years ago. I would like to show you something very important here, is that Malacca is a historic city that, as well as Valparaiso, they're both part of the Universal Cultural Heritage of UNESCO. So, and this year we have already 30 years of that sisterhood. Please, the next one. I want to show how these mosaics look like. This is only 15-meter long, a mosaic we did in Bariloche across the mountains between Chile and Argentina 2 years ago. So the idea is to do this, but in a public place, for everybody to recall the previous design, of course, what this history bonds us together. Next one, please. Next one. Well, the idea is just to keep on bonding people. So this is the young people in Chile, in the schools. There are also elderly people from elderly homes in Chile and Argentina that they make some parts of this mosaic, and we cross them over the mountains and start gluing them into the wall, which ended up in the design you just saw before. So this is 500 years ago. Then please, next one. Then we're going to go to 1820s. In the very early moments of Chilean independent life, the Chilean traders decided to go and cross the world through the Pacific to India to trade mainly copper. That is Carmen, a three-mast tall ship that used to do this trade across the Pacific in that time. And if you can see there, that's the gold bullion of Chile in 1850, which was actually currency in Southeast Asia. Eventually, in one moment, this was money that was used to pay the garrison in Singapore for them to protect the ship to continue the travel to India, where they cash a voucher with probably an interest out of the money that is left in that they left in Singapore. I'm not sure if the voice is okay or is too low. Hello? I'm trying to get it. So, following up, the next one, please. The next one. Well, 31 years ago, it was my time to come here as the team to open the resident embassy in Malaysia. So this 31 years ago is 1/5 of the history of Chile as foreign policy is about, because this year we will commemorate 150 years of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Chile. So the presence of the resident embassy of Chile in Malaysia, it will be actually during 20% of that time. And why I put this Antarctic, because this was one of the main issues we started working with at the beginning, and we have had already some interesting cooperation with Malaysia in the Antarctic territory, which we are going to increase it in the coming days. Please, the next one. And this is the present. This is, as we understand, the only ASEAN square that we have in Chile. I'm not very sure, probably in Latin America. This is in La Unión in southern Chile, after the ASEAN Week was an event that was organized in the southern area of Chile, which is sort of a granary. We have the dairy, the fruits and other products in this region, which is actually very close to what is food security. And there's also an area that we have halal produce. So you can see the flags of ASEAN and Chile when this square was inaugurated. And this is how we believe we are getting together history, culture, persons, and people to people. This is my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador, for this historical review. Personally, I didn't know about this this person who traveled around the world with Magellan, and so you can always find a link, a very early link in this case between the two countries, and it's very interesting. And I will ask Mario to give his views on the present about the relationship between our countries, what's going on, what have we learned, and then we will talk about the future.
Selamat kasih, Juan Pablo. Selamat pagi. Selamat malam from New York. My best greetings to all, especially on an event which is aimed at inspiring. And what more inspiring than having listened already to the greetings by Vice Minister Valdivia, as well as by the DPM from the ASEAN Secretariat, Santander Singh. And their words were completely spot on with regards to what we aim to achieve, not only through these webinars, which have been organized by Chilean embassies in different ASEAN member countries, but also by people-to-people contact, as well as economic and cultural integration between Chile and the ASEAN region. Before I continue with my words, I think that we left out introducing you, Juan Pablo. And Juan Pablo Gasinovich is a lawyer. He did his graduate studies in Britain, in the UK, and he served in Southeast Asia as a Chilean diplomat. He and his family lived very close by my family in Singapore. And today he has the honor to lead the Peruvian private sector as its general manager of its Chamber of Commerce in Chile, as well as being an academic from the Catholic University of Valparaiso, It is a privilege to be with you, Juan Pablo, in this webinar. And there's also one element which I think is very important to put out in front of you this evening, or today in Southeast Asia. Diego, Juan Pablo, and I, our children were born in Southeast Asia. So when we talk about Southeast Asia this evening or today, there is a link in terms of having not only lived there, not only married someone like Ambassador Velasco married Madame Ambara from Indonesia, but also having had the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become better professionals and better persons by spending professional time and family time in ASEAN countries. So I like to underscore that element. Behind me, the picture that you can see is not a swimming pool, and certainly not a lake. It is rather one of the highlights of Chile's north. Chile's northern region is known for its copper, for its nitrate, for its clear skies. 70% of all astronomical projects today are found in Chile. Chile is right now discovering new worlds through these magnificent engineering feats, which by no way are inexpensive. Quite the contrary, when the decision is made in order to move these projects forward, the clear skies as well as the dark skies, which allow to see new universes, new stars, new planets, where astronomers discovering these also come from ASEAN member countries, is something to highlight. And there is a picture that Professor Glasinovich, Juan Pablo, has put of one of these magnificent projects, which are world-renowned. But what's behind me is lithium. Chile is one of the major lithium producers of the world, with a production reaching more than 18,000 metric tons last year, of sales of over $700 million. And when you're talking about lithium, you're talking about clean transportation. Chile is today the second country after China, the People's Republic of China, with the most electric buses in service in our nation's capital, Santiago. So when we talk about the commitment of a young country, where 211 years, as Ambassador Velasco has stated, our commitment to overcoming the challenges of the global climate emergency, which we are all facing, this element, this key element, in order to construct and to put into service electronic vehicles, comes from our northern part of our country. There's also another element which I think is very important, which was placed in a picture by Ambassador Velasco of a first date issue stamp, which is Antarctica. Chile is a tri-continental country. We are located in the Americas. We are facing Oceania, the Pacific Ocean, and we're also an Antarctic country. Our northernmost city is Visviri in the north, and our south ends in the South Pole. That is the Chilean north to south relationship, geographically speaking. We border the Andes and we border the Pacific. Chile is a country that has the fourth largest responsibility in the world in terms of taking care of the security of people when flying. In that term, we border New Zealand. So when you think about Chile in the Pacific, we're not a country that has only just begun our interaction with the Pacific. As Ambassador Velasco stated, over 500 years ago, two worlds were found, an old world into a new world by Magellan and his ships led by the now Victoria. Furthermore, people don't sometimes see the impact of Antarctica, of the sixth continent, in terms of climate emergency. The Antarctica is the thermostat of the world. So when you start looking at the value of Antarctica and its impact to humanity, you also can highlight what Malaysia has done. For example, its first scientific expedition was undertaken in 1999, and it has been committed to Antarctic research in pollution. And while researching in the past few days, I found this fantastic newsworthy point with regards of the development of a bioreactor for an ex situ bioremediation of diesel polluted soil using indigenous Antarctic soil bacteria, which allows diesel biodegradation. That's fantastic. And it's being undertaken in cooperation between Dr. Siti Aklima Ahmad, an associate professor at the University Putra, Malaysia, the Faculty of Biotechnology and Biomolecular Sciences, with the Chilean Antarctic INACH. So when you start thinking about interaction between ASEAN and Chile in terms of clean energy, safeguarding our climate, our environment, working hand in hand in order to confront decisively the climate emergency, we have, in fact, elements of Malaysia working hand in hand with Chile. Furthermore, Chile and Malaysia have worked together in terms of fighting against IUU fishing in the Southern Oceans, which means that we are in contact in order to safeguard those resources which are being depleted at times by illegal fishery. So when you talk about how ASEAN and Chile are interacting in the climate emergency in Antarctica, there is for sure a relationship. Finally, I'd like to touch base with regards to trade. And everyone's very much interested in trade, and everyone sees that the trade between the region has been impacted severely by the pandemic. It has been obviously affecting also investment, but we're seeing new areas of interaction. We're seeing more products being sold from Chile into ASEAN and from ASEAN into Chile. And here's just one element which is very important and comes from experience. In 2005, Chile became the first individual country to negotiate a free trade agreement with the People's Republic of China. The bilateral trade at that time was not a large one. It has grown more than 30 times since that date until today. And when you talk about free trade, you also have to talk with regards to the financial sector. And in this element, I am convinced that there is coming a time sooner than later that a bank from a Southeast Asian economy should establish itself in Chile. In what sense? It is the banks which move forward investment hand in hand with those who are seeking innovative projects or trying to seek a better trade conditions or trying to understand the environment, the intelligence part of this equation. So DBS, Maybank, BDO Unibank, Hang Lung Bank, PT Bank Mandari, it is maybe a high time to consider, like Chile has done, for example, in China, with the Banco de Chile in Beijing, with BCI Bank in Shanghai, or Banco Security in Hong Kong, China, in the same way that they have established representative offices, to see the possibility of bringing a bank from Southeast Asian member economy, from a country, to serve as an intelligence-seeking office into Chile and into Latin America through Chile. It is the banks which can operate in a more dynamic environment, with also interaction with the chambers of commerce. And here I recognize those representatives who have joined us from chambers in ASEAN member countries, as well as from Chile, like SOFOFA, for example, and also regions, which we'll be talking about most surely when we talk about people-to-people contact through city and regional networks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mario, for your remarks, your thoughts. Very useful also, because you have shifted from the private to the public sector. So you combine both views, which are very important. I take the occasion to explain what is in my background. You mentioned it. You know that Chile has, I believe, like 70% or 75% of the astronomical observation. We have it in our territory, and this is ALMA, a radio telescope. It's the biggest radio telescope in the world. It has 66 antennas. 54 of them have 12 meters diameter, and the other 12 have a 7 meters diameter. And they can work together, pointing to a point, or they can work separately according to the projects. I mean, here scientists apply for projects, and they obtain some allocation of time to view at the skies. And so it's amazing. These antennas are in a plane at 5,000 meters above the sea level, which is very impressive. Of course, when you go there, you have to adapt one day, 24 hours, over 3,000 meters, because there is a lack of oxygen. So I've been there several times. I have the privilege to work in ALMA for something related to ALMA for a year. So it's amazing what they are observing there. And from there, I go to our Ambassador Velasco. You have served for almost 30 years in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, 2/3 of them in Southeast Asia. So what's going on? What's the future? Which projects are you pushing with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to foster the links between Malaysia and Chile, and ASEAN and Chile?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mario, your insights are incredible. I'm very, very happy that you join us, because your experience is broad and wide and deep as well. And there's so many things that actually I'm taking notes myself. So thank you very much. Don Juan Pablo, yes, thank you also for bringing up the matter of what you just put behind there is ALMA, because that desert, that when people think of desert, they say, what do we do in the desert? I mean, 30 years ago, desert was just desert. Today, desert is technology, high technology. And that's why I put behind the image there is, sorry, let me put it that way. That is Cerro Dominador. This is the first thermal solar plant in Latin America. It's just been inaugurated about a month ago. And it provides 24 hours a day, roll around, of energy coming from solar energy. And this is green energy, clean energy, renewable energy. This is one of the many projects on technology that is bringing us also to work with Malaysia. In our case, with Malaysia, and eventually with Brunei Darussalam, where we are also an embassy there. When we opened the resident embassy in Malaysia, in a period of about 5 years, we managed to agree in a number of agreements or treaties, 10 of them, if I'm not wrong. And they include almost every every aspect of the relationship. We had in defense cooperation, we have cultural agreement, which that's why we're also stressing it up to bring up the cultures together. We have an economic, scientific, and technical cooperation agreement, and there is information agreement. There are a number of areas that we have been working together. And in that time, Chile was recipient of $120 million of investment in developing a whole neighborhood in the south of Santiago in Maestranza de San Bernardo that was built by Malaysia, $120 million. And it was linked with a railway from there 45 kilometers south of the capital, embedded into our main subway network, the metro. That is one of the examples, one way. The other way was Chile Asmar, the Navy shipyards, were building together with Malaysia in Kuching, one tanker and 2 tugboats. So that sort of exchange was already happening 30 years ago under these agreements. Now, what we are doing is taking stock of those agreements and seeing what happens after 30 years in the new world. This is 30 years ago, there was no even internet, so to speak, or to do things like we're doing today. So we are looking at areas of work. And one of them has been, as also with Singapore, we're working with our embassy in Singapore in this line. We're working strongly into green hydrogen. This is the new technology, is a whole area developing around the world about this new form of energy coming out from the water, actually. Yeah. But why is it called green hydrogen? In our case, because the process of water needs a lot of energy, and the energy to be used to separate the oxygen and the hydrogen by hydrolysis, has to be green. It is solar energy, as an example, or hydroelectric energy by runoff hydroelectric projects, or by wind, as an example. And we have the highest radiation levels of solar radiation in where is Cerro Dominador and where is Alma as well. Those are the highest levels of radiation in the planet. And in the south of Chile, there is where Magellan arrived with Panglima Aguan. Well, the wind there is permanently and endless. And we are very close also in between the energy sources, the water of the ocean, and also the harbors to redistribute this abroad. So it is generally considered that Chile is a very potential powerhouse in the production of green hydrogen. We could produce 70 times more than what we need in Chile. So perhaps we could be a good exporter of this particular, and in very competitive terms. So this is one of the areas we're working, and we have to think Malaysia was one of the strong, supporters of the technological change in the region. Compared to the size of countries, Malaysia is very much like the size of Chile within Latin America. Malaysia is a bit like the Chile here, and vice versa. But in the technology, Malaysia has incredible breakthroughs. When you see about Petronas as an example, Petronas University or the research centers they have here, they have developed the additives that are used in the Formula One cars by Mercedes-Benz, as far as I understand. And that's one technological aspect. If we're talking about microchips, about electronic equipment, and so on, there is a lot to do there. And we also have a lot to do. We have very, very high quality developments in terms of technology. I'm saying communications technology, chemical, actually biotechnology nowadays as well. We're talking about the pandemics. We are very advanced in the work of vaccines in general and other medicines for helping, the society, which is an area of great importance to work with ASEAN, on all the, what is, all the medical, the health, security, we have actually can do things together. So this is, in general terms, what we could do. Now, the pandemic, for one way, has been very difficult to work with because we cannot have the people-to-people directly. But in another way, it has helped us to enhance the work of these tools that I'm sure are going to be very, very useful, even more in the future, particularly if we consider, we spoke about the past, now we're talking about the present. I'm thinking now about the future, which is no longer the future. The future is already here. And it's in the hands of those young people with have too much gray hair, right? It's in the hands of those young people that are actually helping us in this platform. It is the youth that we thought it was tomorrow is today. And these are the tools for them to get together through the university works, through the cultures. And, most of the times these webinars are done very technically. I'm working well with my team here into producing these exchanges among the youth. Exchanges with not only a business priority, but what about cooking together? See, what do you produce? Roti canai, how this is done? How do we do empanadas in Chile? And just exchange these matters to get to know each other. One of the elements that are very particular about doing things in Asia is that they want to see you to your eyes. They want to know who you're talking to. And how do you move your hands? And how, whether you pinpoint things with a finger is perhaps not the best thing. When you do things, you do it with two hands. These things you can do through these media, through these elements. And this is what we are working with universities in Chile and also in Malaysia to get the youth together, for them to meet each other and feel confident that whenever they can travel, they will have friends that understand them, and they will learn about mutually. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Yes, indeed, with technology, we have immense possibilities of dialoguing, interacting. We have here, as I mentioned before, people from all over Chile. I was reading the new greetings, and we have people from another city, La Unión, where the ASEAN Square is located. We have from Willow Willow, which is a hotel near the Lake Panguipulli, where my family has a house in the Lake Panguipulli, so I know it's very beautiful. And this possibility of talking to each other from one side of the world to the other, it's amazing. And I think that now the pandemic made it more familiar for us to do it. It's not expensive. Universities have an immense possibility also of having these seminars or regular courses that you can follow. I mean, without moving from your city, you can be in Kuala Lumpur and choose a course of Chilean history, and why not, and vice versa. So there is a lot to continue working in that sense. And Mario, what do you think about the possibilities? What can we do to have better ties, stronger ties? You mentioned the Antarctica,
yes,
where you have work related to that continent. So please, your views on what can be done, achieved, where can we take examples from?
Well, thank you very much, Juan Pablo. I was listening to Ambassador Velasco talk about different initiatives, and I was thinking about, he was talking about food. And as you can see from myself, I'm someone who enjoys particularly Southeast Asian food, especially the hotter the better. So I do miss those dishes. And sometimes people don't realize, but the first Asian restaurant to establish itself in Punta Arenas, which is pretty close to being the southernmost city in the world, being that Puerto Williams, was opened by a couple, a Singaporean and Malaysian couple. They opened up an Asian restaurant in the late 1990s. I remember this with particular interest, because it was the time, and we'll be talking about that soon. It was a time that FILAC, which we'll tell a little bit more about later, was starting out to come into fruition back in the 1998 by then Prime Minister Goh Chok Tong and President Eduardo Frei Ruiz-Tagle from Chile and Singapore, respectively. But what can we do? Where can we go forward? Why are we having these pictures with Antarctica, with astronomy, with lithium? And behind me right now, there's a picture of Sofri. And Sofri is the duty-free zone located in Iquique. Iquique is a very historic city, not only for Chile, but also for Asia, because it was the port city where many Asians arrived in the mid-19th century to work, to establish themselves, to seek a better future. And Sofri is located in this port city, which goes towards Bolivia, northern Argentina, Paraguay, southwest Brazil, southern Peru. So it is a very important element at play with regards to trade between Asia and those markets. Sofri is a logistics service, a venue which receives merchandise. It manages documentation, transportation, inventory, and shipments. It also has real estate business, the sale or lease of industrial land and lease space. It's 240 hectare enclosure with over 1,650 operating companies that trade goods free of duties and taxes, with annual sales of over $2.1 billion. It also has a mall of 30,000 square meters and holds assets in another location nearby called Alto Hospicio with 129 hectares for doing business in that area, with sales to Bolivia, Peru, Paraguay, regarding automobiles, machinery, equipment, apparels. It has VAX exemption. Goods remain in Sofri and are not taxed, and there's a differentiated tax treatment. And to that, you can also consider, and we jumped this before, the Malaysia-Chile Free Trade Agreement, the MCFTA, which was the first bilateral FTA agreement reached between Malaysia and a Latin American country. That's very important. When you start thinking about the first, that has something to say of why you came up with negotiating with that first. Why did you take that first step? The same way, for example, the People's Republic of China negotiated its first free trade agreement with an individual country back in 2005, and that country being Chile. Malaysia did the same and commenced negotiations in 2007 and concluded them in 2010, signing the agreement. And this is something very important. One of the key elements at play when we talk about ASEAN and Chile is APEC. Chile was the first South American economy to join APEC, whose secretariat is located in Singapore. And we start thinking about the work that has been able to be achieved by ASEAN with Latin American countries, the three which are part of APEC, which are Mexico, Peru, and Chile, the three members of the Pacific Alliance. You have to start dwelling why this, or what also has been occurring. And you see that through people-to-people exchanges in science and technology, in innovation, in education, in youth, in gender. And in gender, I cannot stop mentioning the fact of the Antarctic ice queens from Malaysia, and how this group of women, an all-women's expedition to Antarctica, led by polar adventurer Sharifa Mahi Syed Abdul Qadar, on a Christmas day in 2004, reached the South Pole. And along with that group was a diplomat, a diplomatic officer, Salela Abu Noor. And when they finished their trip to Antarctica, they went to Santiago. But I want to mention gender as a very important element of the equation when starting to think about doing business between ASEAN, Malaysia, and Chile. And here I recognize the Chilean ASEAN Chamber of Commerce, where gender is very crucial, a very important element to the work that's being done by Gerardo Velasco and the team there, of whom I recognize as well. There is work to be done also in terms of diversity. And I was seeing amongst those who have joined us, Juan Pablo, is someone who represents a local group of
foundation.
Yes, it's very important, the issue of diversity in ASEAN as it is in Chile. When you start thinking about the most important elements at play in terms of nation building, in terms of governance, in terms of anti-corruption, in terms of how governments are run for the people in today's world, the issue of diversity plays an important element. And that element is found in ASEAN. And Chile and ASEAN have a lot to gain through those experiences. In culture, we have this evening Ambassador Veronica Chain from Santiago. And why not think about organizing theater, film? Sometimes we don't realize that the excellent film initiatives, which not only have been undertaken by Chile, reaching the Oscars and other important, relevant competitions in Europe and the Americas, and also in Asia, how we could work using natural settings in Chile to film movies, and why not even musical videos. I remember Siti from Malaysia and how she has been able to thrill music lovers around the world with her fantastic voice. You have also the issue of human security. And I think that this is an element that was touched by Ambassador Velasco. Some ASEAN countries obviously have the fantastic element of youth, like Vietnam, like the Philippines. But you also have other countries which have, like Chile, low demographics. People are growing older at a faster rate. And taking care of our grandparents, our parents, is also a responsibility that needs to be addressed in order for them to have an old age period with grace. There's also the issue of the digital economy and what has been undertaken by Chile with New Zealand and Australia in this area. And also the issue of sustainable development, connectivity. When we talk about connectivity, we're not talking only about ports and airports, but we're also talking about what allows us this evening to be together, which is able to do Zoom. And you were talking, Professor Juan Pablo Gasinovich, with regards to universities, which is your field. We should start looking at, and I understand that several universities in Chile are already putting these in place. I know that you and Professor Manfred Wilhelmi have headed this along with Fanor Larraín, programs in order to better understand ASEAN, but also to better understand the linkages, the educational linkages of the politics between Chile, Latin America, and ASEAN. Transportation, which is very vital, clean transportation, clean homes, secure transportation. That can be found for sure in multiple projects in ASEAN, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore. We're seeing how an MTR, a subway system, a metro system is being built and to service the communities in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. Hello, Ho Chi Minh. So when we start thinking about what we can achieve between ASEAN and Chile, this is an evening to inspire, to get the ball rolling. We three here today are trying to motivate those who are in attendance to seek out new worlds through this webinar. And by far, we're talking about sea, land, mountain, Antarctica, desert, all to be found also through tourism. Something that people don't realize, one of the biggest tourist groups where they're coming from to go into the southern lakes, the glaciers, Antarctica, Rapa Nui, Easter Island, our linkage to Oceania and Asia is from Asia, and specifically also from ASEAN member economies or countries. So we have the capacity to bring about a positive momentum in a post-COVID world of competition. When we talk about what we have to look at in order to contribute, as ASEAN already has in place with ASEAN centrality, we have to look at also how to link Latin America, Pacific Alliance, Chile, with its ASEAN centrality, fostering knowledge, and through knowledge, peace.
Thank you, Mario. Very inspiring. As you mentioned, universities have an essential role in these exchanges between people-to-people exchange. I read that we have people from the University of Malaya attending this event. So please, let's try to communicate after this to see what we can organize together. I'm not, of course, the authority of the Pontificia Universidad Católica Valparaíso, but I can intermediate and try to do something together. You can see on my back now, it's not Antarctica, it's the desert, the same place, the Llano de Chajnantor, where the antennas, the radio telescope is. This is after some snowing, so it can change from rocks, sand, and snow. It's all in the same place, 5,000 meters high. Ambassador Velasco, I know you stress very much the importance of knowing each other, of having this people-to-people relationship. Can you elaborate on how do you see people, regions, cities contributing to these ties among our countries?
Okay, thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, Juan Pablo. Mario, yeah, really enthusiastic. The only way is forward. My father used to say, we don't walk backwards, we have to go forward. And here you are really inspiring on your way of expressing things. I would like, before that, I would like just to make some very particular acknowledgements because Ambassador Veronica Chain, the Director of Cultural Affairs of our ministry, has reminded us that we are, the next year, we're going to present an exhibition on the 500 years of the circumnavigation of the world, which is actually the encounter of three worlds, indeed. So this is an exhibition that we hope to place in Malaysia in very important venue, museums, which is depicting all this trip and bring back the history as it was before, and probably as perhaps we would like to remember how we would like the future to be, with clean seas, with life in the sea, with trees in the forests. Those things that 500 years ago were there. And perhaps we find more, instead of Sargasso Islands floating on the sea, we find plastic islands. So the idea of this exhibition is one of the elements that with the embassy we're trying to set up to recover thought of how the world it was and how we want to bring it forward with the youth. And we'll talk about HILAC or Focalaya about that in a few minutes. The other things I would like to pinpoint is that both Cerro Dominador, the thermal plant, and Alma are in Antofagasta region, and they have made themselves, we have greetings from the regional government of Antofagasta. And we also have a special greeting from the governor regional of Los Rios, from where the square of ASEAN is there. Mr. Luis Cubertino has been present here. And this is very important because we're talking Antofagasta is in the north and 3,000 kilometers or so south is Los Rios. And as also you can see behind me, now you can see, sorry, I'm trying to make it. That's a piano, and that is Volcano Osorno in the south of Chile. This is culture. Why? Because we have one very special event in Chile, 53 years old. It is classical music, Semanas Musicales de Frutillar. It is an event of 2 weeks of exponents of musicians from all over the world go and play in that incredible landscape that you can see there. And why I'm bringing this one? Because bringing this one to focus on a particular element. When we talk about culture, we have learned in Asia that culture is a source for inviting visitors. It's not, tourism is one element of traveling, yes, but if there is no culture to show, landscapes by themselves don't talk that much. It's the people who is there. And the people who is in this region or in ASEAN talk a lot about their region, and we need your voices to also talk about both regions together. In south of Chile particularly, and also across Argentina, I would like to highlight, and there are many of them present today, the ASEAN group of ladies. Yes, ASEAN stands for ladies, entrepreneurs and executives of the tourism industry, which is women's associations. There are many of them, and they're very, very strong on promoting, helping to relate to the cultural matter, to the human part of visiting places. More than tourists, they call them visitors. They're very much as the national parks. The national parks count visitors, not tourists. And this particular thing, when you visit a place, in Asia, you take your shoes off, right? That's because you tend to help, to honor the host, the cleanliness of the house. So that's a visitor, a person that really goes and embeds themselves into the environment where they are visiting. And the ladies from ASEAN, there are many, ASEAN Osorno, ASEAN Valdivia, ASEAN Lago Ranco, various different areas. These ladies are, their focus is doing the cultural part is very strong. And the other part, which is very important, is how do we keep tourism safe? Safe particularly from abuse of children and youngsters in the tourism industry. This is a serious matter, it's worldwide. And tourism can be a blessing or also can be a vector for transnational international crime. And therefore, they have a very strong campaign, including with the International Police of Chile, to make the places safe for children and youth to travel. We have a lot in the south area of Chile, as I've been there for a while working. We have a lot at the end of the year, the students do the trips, full buses to do and have, enjoy the nature and the culture. But if they're going alone, there might be risks. So this is an important area of work. This is a serious and important area of work that we can do together. And I would like to highlight this work of the ladies there. They're very strong on there. I would like also to mention another initiative is working with the native people, with the original people. Yeah, here is also present Doña Pamela Muñoz Cayuqueo from the foundation, the Mapuche Foundation Kumimongen, which is a way of, they have developed a whole tool to work in distance with people in very, very far away places. So they can reach the education in the territory, to do it more integral, not only that the education is focused where you have urban population. Now, going into how do we promote participation, or how do we see the future? There is some, Don Juan Pablo has mentioned to us a while ago, FILAC, FOCALIFE. And if I might pick up, Juan Pablo, this is...
Of course. I think it's a very important issue.
FOCALIFE or FILAC, it is an initiative that was, I don't recall exactly, but it's 25 years old at this moment. And it was the first foresight vision joining Asia and Latin America to prepare the people for the millennia of the Pacific. But the thing is, this is a dialogue between the youth, the universities, different factors. If you have, let's say, a project about, in any of the countries, I remember Peru did this, on monitoring of the Pacific Ocean for the Niño La Niña. So we have this program, who wants to join? So many others joined to do this observatory on the La Niña y El Niño. That's one of the things that can be done. Now, the youth have been extremely active. There was, I remember in Indonesia a few years ago, they actually made a pledge of the youth of ASEAN, of FILAC. And why this pledge? Because they wanted to participate. But the problem is when you have many youth who get together, there's a lot of tickets to be used. You have to travel to get them together. So at that time, about 15 years ago, I was asking, when I was a focal point of FILAC for Chile, so why don't we do things online? But 15 years ago, what we are using right now, it was or either very expensive or nobody dared to do it, because we were not familiar. Now everybody is familiar. And I think these times, this is one of the things that we can take an advantage and a good lesson and take avail of these magnificent tools online for getting the youth together to do things and to, give an impulse to the FILAC agenda, which is actually their agenda. It's their agenda to develop. I think it's the moment to put more university schools, secondary schools together through these tools, and also build an extra platform for those when they can travel under the different work and holidays agreements we have with many countries. This is the case in FILAC we have with many countries. I'm not very sure we have one at the moment with ASEAN countries, but we do have with Australia, New Zealand, and Japan, Korea, and other countries. So the work and holidays is actually an ultimate tool to lose fear of using the language in the wrong way, the foreign language, and to actually get to know by working with, in simple words, the culture, the language, and to embed yourself into other culture. And I think the work and holidays and FILAC share basically the very same core idea. Get to know each other for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Mario, your remarks, comments on these people-to-people relations. Do you agree, disagree? What would you add to
Well, you and I, Juan Pablo, were based in Southeast Asia when the whole discussion of FILAC started to come about. I remember well, our offices were next door at the embassy in Singapore, and this whole discussion of FILAC was coming about. And I was looking, researching in the past few days with regards to some of the areas that they were going into. And I was looking at, for example, how they were getting involved in cybersecurity and how important that element is also part of developing sound business equations today. When you're talking about transnational movement of finances, this cybersecurity work is quite relevant. And I wanted on the issue of security, the picture that is behind me is one that I don't know if people have been noticing that Professor Gasinovich, Ambassador Velasco, myself have been trying to show different types of pictures that somehow or another are aimed not only at motivating, but also informing those who are participating, the linkages between Chile and ASEAN in different sectors, in different fields of knowledge, of tourism, of business, of science, of culture. But this is something that sometimes people don't realize. Chile and Malaysia, as most also ASEAN member countries are maritime countries. Ambassador Velasco begun his presentation on the story of a not well-known sailor who made history 500 years ago, and his home was Malacca. And when you start thinking about Malaysia and Chile, you have to think about how both navies have worked together. The same way that Chile was the first Spanish-speaking country to sign an agreement of friendship and cooperation in 2016 with ASEAN. In 2018, Chile was the first non-speaking country to lead the maritime sector of the world's largest naval exercises called RIMPAC, which are held off the coast in the waters near Hawaii. And why is this relevant to this conversation? Well, Chile is a country that has two submarines, which are somehow or another twins of two of Malaysia's submarines, the KD Tunku Abdul Rahman and the KD Tun Abdul Razak. Two powerful leading figures of Malaysian history have their names used by these two Scorpion submarines, which are based in Sepangar, Sabah, Kota Kinabalu. I have been there. I have enjoyed the waters there, scuba diving. So when you say where are these submarines located, I know where they're located. The submarines located in Chile are near the city of Concepcion, which we're going to go into this element as well in our conversation, which is about sister cities, provinces, and regions in terms of moving forward these people-to-people linkages at a more micro level. We've talked a lot about government to government and how APEC and FELAC and the FTA, and we've talked about how different entities are working in addressing diversity, climate emergency, human security, trade, investment, tourism, the banks. But we have forgotten that there is a trend, a world trend today, whereupon sister cities are being established. Malaca is a sister city of Valparaiso, Chile's premier, one next also with San Antonio, premier port for the shipment of goods to the world. When you think about the future of interaction, of how we should visualize it, we were talking before of elements based on clean technology for transportation, clean energy. Sometimes we forget how our country, how Chile has opted, and Vice Minister Valdivia spoke about how Chile has made a fundamental shift from coal, from petroleum, from hydroelectric into solar, into wind. We're talking about green hydrogen as well. We have to talk about sister cities and sister provinces, sister regions, and how we could work together by starting after this webinar in motivating regions in Chile, such as the region of Biobío, Iquique, Antofagasta, Santiago, the region of O'Higgins, Rancagua, the wine and fruit, the halal food areas of Chile, to linking up with ASEAN countries, provinces, as well as cities, in order to establish linkages in training, in education, in trade, in culture. Our native peoples, bringing them on board, bringing their culture, which is related in some way or another to where we come from. When sometimes people forget that the Americas was inhabited by peoples from Asia. It wasn't that we came about, that we were all of a sudden there were Latin American people. No, we generally come from Asia. There was a process here, just like the process we should look about, for example, with regards to La Unión. We have this beautiful park with Chilean and ASEAN flags flying this evening in Latin America, in Chile. Your morning, we should start thinking about seeing how we could foster sister city scheme between that part of Chile, which is gorgeous to visit. You left out when you're speaking, Ambassador, it's the milk area, and Chile is exporting milk. I don't know if you're aware, but Chile is exporting cows to Asia today. So when you start thinking about what we're exporting in terms of food, it's not only halal beef, it's not only halal chicken, we're also talking about beef, we're talking about milk, we're talking about fruits, vegetables. I was looking today also in a presentation. When you start thinking about the top Chilean exports to ASEAN, copper beats all. But then you go into salmon and trout, you go into fresh grapes, you go into fish oil, you go into nuts, you go into fresh cherries, you go into red wine, and then you start looking at something which is very important, which is sawn wood. When you start thinking about sawn wood, you start thinking about homes. You start thinking about construction, and how today we're looking at more sustainable construction. Thank you very much. I go. Behind you. Yes, Ambassador Velasco. the musical festival in Frutillar, which is something that you obviously have led in the past few years, Ambassador. And I'll leave it to you in your comments as well. Thank you. I'm taking away here.
Well, we're here in Chile. We're close to start springtime. So in less than half an hour, we'll start spring with flowers blooming all around. In New York, it's you will start autumn, and in Malaysia, I don't recall if it's the rain season or not.
It's raining, yeah, quite often. Normally in the afternoon.
Yes. Well, I think that if you agree, we can, I mean, have our final statements because I think we are already reaching our time. But do you agree with that? We can take also, I see Ambassador have been answering some questions. I don't know the people who are attending if they want to ask more questions for the last minutes. I would like just to take, I mean, to make some remarks of what you have said before. One thing about FIALAC, the Forum for East Asia, and Latin America, and the Caribbean, I think that we're still lacking an institutional dialogue between our regions. I think that in the current time in which we are observing a shift in the global structure, I think it's more important than ever to be able to have a fluent dialogue and to exchange views, to know more about each other, how we are facing all kinds of problems, starting with the climate change. I think that we have a first priority, which is to fight or to try to mitigate this climate change. Ambassador mentioned that Chile, and also Mario said it, we can become, and we're with your assistance, with these joint ventures and alliances, we can become one of the biggest producers of clean energy in the world. We have the sun, we have the wind, we have the lithium, we have a lot, and all this will be necessary to produce in a cleaner way, so we can also aspire to have this, to participate from the global chains of value. I mean, why not having Chilean energy through the green hydrogen, or even installing manufacture plants in Chile where you can assemble anything and export it to the rest of the continent. So we have a lot of things to do together. But I also agree with what you said, that to sustain a relation, you have to have something in common, and something in common start with people to people. I mean, knowledge. So we have to increase this knowledge. We have these wonderful possibilities now with all this Zoom, or we can interact very easily. We can have courses, we can have conferences, webinars. So this is one way. The other way, also mentioned, is that we are going to have regions and cities having more autonomy to discuss, to adopt also better practices in other what's going on in Malacca regarding, you know, how they treat the seafront with Valparaíso. We have a lot of things to do, but that's the challenge of how we, the people, participate from this relation, and we have much to suggest, to give to this relation. So that I for your last, I think your last comments, and then we go to the last questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much once again. Muchas gracias. Banyak terima kasih. Maraming salamat po. Kapumana ka. No, kapunta. It's the only way I can express, because your patience everybody has been also very attentive. We've received a lot of questions. I need to recognize some other persons. Here is former ambassador of Indonesia to Chile, Filemon Arobaya, probably one of the first that impulsed the coming out to the south to work directly in the region. It's one inspiration, and Ambassador Banyak Kimagasi, because you have been really an inspiration for many. And also, I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Embassy of Malaysia in Santiago. They have been joining us, they've been together with us, and we really appreciate your presence, because we start working together. Some comments have been, some questions have been talking about how to organize matters with universities and produce probably joint programs. That is what we're starting to do. I'm working with the University of Malaya for one point, and also we'll be talking with the University Technology Petronas, and University of Santiago, or universities in the south. We are exploring that part under the agreements of economical, scientific, and technical cooperation. So it has been a bit slow, as you can imagine, because of the conditions of these last 2 years, but we have a lot of enthusiasm from all sides. So please, a bit of patience, we will do it. That's what we are focusing on. And about other, but to be patient is not to keep on asking, not just don't sit and wait. Keep on asking us, keep on linking us, keep on giving us food, keep us on our toes. That's why we're public servants. We are to serve the public, and as a diplomat or diplomats, what we have to do is to link you and the other you and the they and the other they, to link them together. You're the horses that empower societies. We have to help the horses go to the pond of water and make sure that the water is clean. And then the horses have to work together. They have to drink together. So please keep on letting us know what you want, what you need, but directly not only the need. Go with the ideas. Dare with the ideas. This is what we need. With support and ideas. Because sometimes public servants have a limitation, has a simple, very focused limitation of budget, personal, or time. The society always have, maybe someone has a budget, maybe another one has the time, maybe another has a person to cooperate, and then we work in Gotong Royong, as they say in Malay, or Minga, as we say in Chile, which is working as a community. We are one lot, one group. So my message is, let's work together. Let's keep on working together. And once again, thank you very much. We are ready for some questions if anybody would like to keep on doing some others. But we'd like to thank very much again our colleagues from the Embassy of Chile in Indonesia and to ASEAN, because this has been the first of what we believe many of these exchanges. Banyak terima kasih, muchas gracias. Le paso la palabra.
Thank you, Ambassador. Mario, what would you like to say, your final words?
We've heard it all this evening. If there's one lesson learned again this evening, is the fact that there is a Latin American trustworthy partner which is ready, willing, and able to move forward with ASEAN. When you start thinking about a logical step, a step that is safe, secure, interesting, enticing, attractive, that natural partner is Chile. We've made the best case possible in the time that we've had in order to show you images, experience, personal experience, family experience, academic experience, diplomatic experience that shows each one of you present this evening, this morning in ASEAN, member countries that we're ready, that we want to move forward, that the time is right now, even amongst having a pandemic environment and challenge. There is an opportunity to be sought. And the opportunities come about when you least expect them. This is the time. This is what you have been expecting. The time is correct for ASEAN and Chile to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. As we say, don't live for tomorrow what you can do today. So let's go for it. And just to end with this image of the star, we have many stars. What we have to build is constellation. And we have the people to build the constellation. So let's go for a closer relationship, and there is much, much to do. So thank you very much to everyone who attended this evening from Chile and the Americas, New York. And selamat pagi, good morning. Have a nice rest of the day for all who are attending from the ASEAN country and especially Malaysia. Bye-bye.
Terima kasih. Bye-bye.
Climb to be free. Walk to feel alive. Rediscover happiness in the simple things. Smile. Make yourself at home. Discover the joy of the cold and of vertigo. Listen to the silence. Decipher the language of animals. Walk amidst thousand-year-old forests and the countless forms of life that live there. Travel through the city's underground. Appreciate the view from up high. Then enjoy its unique sights. Look at the horizon and wonder if there is more than meets the eye. Lose yourself in funiculars and labyrinth. Find yourself on a mysterious island. Be amazed by a different culture. Learn about ancient beliefs and traditions. Marvel in their colors and shapes. Wait for the calm of night. And yet, feel that you are never quite alone. Understand that home is wherever we want it to be.
Bueno, señores.
Climb to be free. Walk to feel alive. Rediscover happiness in the simple things. Smile. Make yourself at home. Discover the joy of the cold and of vertigo. Listen to the silence. Decipher the language of animals. Walk amidst thousand-year-old forests and the countless forms of life that live there. Travel through the city's underground. Appreciate the view from up high. Then enjoy its unique sights. Look at the the horizon and wonder if there is more than meets the eye. Lose yourself in funiculars and labyrinth. Find yourself on a mysterious island. Be amazed by a different culture. Learn about ancient beliefs and traditions. Marvel in their colors and shapes. Wait for the calm of night. And yet, feel that you are never quite alone. Understand that home is wherever we want it to be.
Hello.